morning to all of you. It's here. And as you all know, we are here to have a discussion on seven challenges for HR managers. Professor Rao will be conducting. Before we start off the session, you can all see I have put all the participants on mute right now so that we don't have any voice disturbances from anyone's end. Just was that are you able to see the presentation on your screen right now? You let me know. Hello?
Yes.
Everyone, are you able to see the presentation, 7 challenges of HR professionals?
Yes. We are.
Great. Okay, so I'm so sorry I missed on introducing myself. I'm Himanshi, and I'm an associate at TVRLS. Again, and now I would ask Professor Rao to take forward the session from here. We would be first running you through the presentation, and then we'll have an open house where he'll be touching upon all the issues, and you can have a good discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Yes, that's okay. The reason why I offered this I thought this is something small to do for my Facebook friends. I think we keep communicating to each on the Facebook, so it will give a little bit of one-to-one of a chart. So try to complete what I've got to say in about 15 to 20 minutes. Challenges of HR managers. The inspirations for this particular theme is I've been talking about the HR profession for the last several years. And recently, National HR Network, e-book, I am sure, I think some of you may have got. If not, I think it's available either from National HR Network or from for a free download, written by Rick and team, book. And it had about 73 leaders across the world. From India, only one person who contributed to it, that is Arvind Agarwal, about the HR competencies and how the HR network is trying to develop these competencies. These articles, these are excellent articles, wonderful. Then that we were talking about these very things which I think Dave Ulrich and a lot of them have been the last 10, 15 years were talking about, all about 25 to 30 years ago. In this book, Excellence Through Human Resource Development, which was edited by M.R.R. Nair and myself. This was published by the network in 1990, distributed in one of the conferences. It had articles about expectations from HRD, from CEOs. Like K.K. Noria presented an article on what does he expect. Dr. Krishnamurthy himself presented. And Suresh Krishna from Sundaram Fazanas presented. So CEOs, and we had a few experts like Mrityunjay Atreya in 1990s. In those days, he was working very intensely with some of the public sector, like Corporation and so on. Then we had Rajan Gupta from MDI, Uday Parikh, and Ishwar Dayal, who we just about a couple of years ago. So, academicians, and you had CEOs, and you also had union leaders, and about 13 articles on what do they expect from HRD and what kind of competencies were required. When I found it's short kind of a booklet, I found that in different ways which rise of HR, Dave Ulrich and team are saying has been said 25 years ago. Only it probably is is not packaged that well nowadays. The mention in Rise of HR, I think I find which is a good thing which Dave has been doing, is giving it a little bit of market orientation, out in and inside out. And what he has been doing is, of course, he is very sensitive to the, I think, technological developments and things like that. I'll present that. So I thought that this is a good idea. Therefore, let us talk about the HR people. One of the presentations I have made, I presented this in IIM Lucknow in seminars and presented in various forums, where I identified 7 challenges. Now, these challenges are as follows. I'll come back to this. This of HR, I hope you see it on the screen. This is HR, this is the e-book that is available, Wisdom from 73 Thought Leaders. This book tries to answer, it is 2005 publication, what and investors expect from organizations and how HR leaders help grow stakeholders to develop and optimize talent. How HR professionals build organizations with capabilities in innovation, collaboration, culture, and so on. I think the kind of things that are talked of in this book, if you get this book, you will get it. Now, I identified much before, I think, reading this book. I think this is what I've been talking for the last several few years, or the following. First of all, I believe that our profession has become a very important profession. And for me, HR is not only a profession. HR is a philosophy. HR is a practice. It's a thought. And it is a profession. For professionals, it is a profession. But to us, I think it has got to be a philosophy. And others, it's something to teach, something to develop occupation and things of that kind. So for whatever way that you are, and I'm now addressing this largely to HR managers, whatever level in which you are, the most thing today, now I believe that, I don't anymore believe is HR is a strategic business partner. I don't believe that. I believe more than that. I believe HR is business. There can be business without HR. In fact, look, business HR is the art of, if you identify 2 sides of the coin, I think business without HR and there is no HR without business. That's the way I look at it. So HR professional take this significant part. The most important challenge the HR professional has is to think ahead of their CEO, because he has to promote business. Now you have to promote business. A manager should be able to think ahead of the CEO. Those are until later, and a whole lot of others join. I'm just spending another 10 to 15 minutes just talking what I want to say, and later we'll have a discussion. We thought the model works, because if we start discussing any one issue, then there is no end for it. I thought I'll do this and then we come back to these slides. So I wouldn't take too much time. I'll try to finish as fast as possible. Presenting these 7 challenges. So the first challenge is, how do we get HR people to think ahead of their CEOs? Therefore, for a HR manager is to know business. Wherever you have to understand that particular sector. And you have a global view of the opportunities of customers, knowing other cultures and countries, these customers, vendors looking for business opportunities and so on. That means the HR manager has got to be even ahead of a CEO. I think it is a challenge. That is why I call it challenge, because I think you have multiple roles to perform. It's very absorbing, particularly if the employee relations part of it catches you. In your company, that becomes very important, and it catches you. You have no way in which you can say this can wait. Nothing if the that's That's why, in fact, I say peace, stability, and growth. These are the three life need hierarchy, important things for HR. Peace, HR. Without, there can be no HR. But then you go to stability. That is where you get into HRM and other kind of HR practices, compensation surveys, employment, and so on. When the stability, then you think of growth. Now, this role head of the CEO is the HRD, growth kind of a role. Maybe with you, I was quite disappointed to find HR people are so much over concerned about HR, they rarely understand the business. I think, fortunately, coming down now, the younger generation is much more smarter. But in the days, there are cases where a HR head or HRO, when asked a question, what is the annual turnover of your company, he would only think of employee turnover, not the turnover of the company. And where HROs can't even say the total number of employees in the company and so on. So what? Therefore, the most important challenge is therefore not to help with HR. I think you have to think like a CEO and you probably think beyond. That's what come to the second challenge. Second challenge is not enough to know about business. It's so important to influence the thinking of a CEO. Now, a HR person to communicate to the CEO of the company, sir, our competitors are thinking in this particular way. These kind of products they are introducing, these are the innovations that they have come up with. And literature, when I went to another country where we have our outfit, this is what I found in that particular kind of a country. They should be traveling, and when they travel, or when nowadays you don't have to travel, internet does all the travel for you. So get back and understanding, you need to communicate this. We are the influencers of the CEOs. At one point of time, I remember Dr. Kurian telling who used to be his HRD manager, years and years. I come up with all kinds of projects, but I think whether we can handle what is the kind of thinking of people, etc., you'll have to sensitize me. You have years, and sometimes you also have got to be my spokesperson. It becomes very, very important in terms of communicating to the CEO and communicating the CEO's concern to others. Your communication has to be effective. You have to have your own claim, that credibility. Your routines, but you should be able to think ahead. Traditional image of HR. The moment it looks at HR, they either think of compensation or appointment letters or recruitment or performance appraisals and things of that kind. I think you have to get out of that thing and be able to establish that manager, like I keep saying in Mahabharata, like Vidur, who is constantly guiding, and remove the traditional image and then get into information. You should be able to source information, strategizing, talent management practices, and so on. So influencing through all these, this is the second challenge. Is structuring the role of HR appropriately. Most people, again, don't get involved in even organizational structuring part of it. I have a very interesting case, and we're going to have a discussion on SIT. This was written almost about now 50 by Ravi Mathai and Professor Ishwar Dayal. This is called as Govardhan Bonali Bandhavajya. This is two brothers who were in cloth exports and so on in Calcutta, to set up a manufacturing outfit. And in the process of setting up the manufacturing outfit, what all difficulties they have faced and how they had to balance a whole lot of things. And they didn't have any HR manager in those days. Everything they took, I think, turned out to be interested in his own kind of a power and so on. But fortunately today, we have managers. If Govardhan Bandhavajya had a HR manager, probably the problems he would have, he would not face. And when you find most organizations, most of the issues are people kind of issues. So how HR people, the challenge is to restructure their role and also structure it appropriately. Now, means we pay your attention to. Like I said, there are times you have to pay attention to IR. You can't say that I'm not a IR kind of a person and so on. There are times when focusability part of it, and that's when you have to build teams. Times you need to do role negotiation, and there are times when you have to get the CEO to go for a retreat. Get CEO influencing the top management, conducting 360 feedback, all these kind of things. So it's constantly moving from one piece to stability to growth, focus on growth, but when required, coming back to peace, stability, and things of that kind. That is what makes, I think I put here, HR as a champion. So third, first, thinking ahead of the CEO. Second is influencing the CEO. Third, structuring the role. And fourth is building the and leadership across the company. I think this is a challenge, and nobody else is going to do that. She would pay quite a bit of lip service and with good intentions also, but be able to know the strategies of building everyone as a leader. After all, remember, a CEO is also a human being. His own power needs, his own affiliation needs, and things of that kind. So, a HR manager who has to grow far beyond a CEO is able to look at in an objective way and constantly come up with mechanisms. Now, if this book of 100 Managers in Action, it's filled with stories of those people who have done marvelous job, which is indicated by 360. Now, we have written actually by almost about 9 to 10,000 360 feedbacks we have had, and identified about 300 of them who are high influential managers. And do some lessons from this. There are about a dozen lessons given. People, these are all line managers facilitated by HR. The benefit is this, that chairperson should constantly build in his or her corporation as a leader. So these, how do you develop leaders and get them to do 360? Without 360 is almost about 25 to 30 years old in our country. In fact, we it is as old as the country is. In the kings used it to go in disguise to find out the impact they made on people. So it's not a Western concept, it's a very good leadership kind of a concept. But still, in spite of all these developments, many managers are very reluctant to get anything like 360-degree feedback. From TV RLS, we're doing a little bit of a 360 shop in Bangalore with companies. And when they trained a group of senior managers followed by junior managers, they found seniors to be totally resistant to the 360-degree feedback. Very more interested. And they were taking out their anger on the top management by saying, what is the point of doing all this for us when the top person himself or herself has not gone through 360. So there are all kinds of interesting misunderstandings about it. So then therefore is, how do you use multiple technologies for companies to leadership? That is the fourth challenge. I think it's not a easy kind of a thing. I think a very important thing. How do HR people learn? Now, when I offered this in the Facebook, almost about 4,000 connections on the Facebook, but there are about a dozen of you who showed your interest in learning. 4,000 connections are HR people. I'm sure at least about 50% of them are. And I'm probably certain most of them don't have a clue about what we're going to be talking to today. So why is it that less than, I think if we really look at 5% of people taking to join, when free to them, they are not even interested in switching on the internet. Of course, everyone will have several reasons. The time doesn't suit, etc. Things of the kind. But I do find that the rate has gone down phenomenally. Has not picked up as much as it should be. Positive side of it is a lot of people use internet. But I think the important point to make is the challenge. The fifth for HR managers is how do you constantly learn of sources, but learn from your juniors. I learn a lot from juniors. I think it helps me in managing the thing. Or earlier, I think there were when I could not even, I was even reluctant to buy a phone. And my teaching assistant in IIM Ahmedabad, he would sit with me and for him to just dig up a particular thing. He's sitting, sir, I have mailed it to you. And he'll click the button and mail it to me. And so that seem to know a lot more than me, and then you seem to be using this technology. Now teach me the technology. Now use my mobile on Facebook, etc. I think it's important that seniors should be willing to learn from their peers. I mean, the gone are days where people can say, I'm here to teach. I think today is the day when we have to say, I am here also to learn. So you can understand from January, read literature, read these magazines. There's so much of literature that is coming up. So this is a challenge. How do you constantly learn? How much of your time do you now do you 1% of your time, 2%, 10% of your time? 10% of your time means almost about an hour a day. You have to constantly read and learn from other people and so on. So how do you make now this challenge, I found it coming up in David Rick's book, corporations innovative and also promote decisions. Because today, if talent has to be respected, it has to be respected at all levels. Even an ordinary employee, a driver can be innovative, a can be innovative and so on. You'll have designed incentive and reward systems. I have designed incentive systems that promote care, and we have seen creativity and innovation as a case in some of the companies. A big challenge. How do you create systems? It is a beautiful book by Pradeep, which gives quite a little bit about creativity and so on. And I mean, these are not the only 7 challenges. There may be many, but for this point of time, I want to limit myself to this. Challenge is how do you have intellectual capital and values? Now, for the last 7-8 years, I've been talking about intellectual capital. In many corporations, the market value, the market capitalization, if you look at most companies, only 10-15% of tangible assets in IT companies, and in manufacturing companies maybe 30 to 40%. You will find at least about 50-60% in good companies are intellectual capital, invisible kind of a capital. So it's contributed by the brand image. Image comes from reliable people, talented people, loyal customers. Loyal customers come again from credible kind of employees who which are honored and things of that kind. So you find a lot of intellectual capital comes with human capital. HR becomes the best contributor to market value. I was reviewing the intellectual capital of the Asian economy. For example, there was one very interesting study conducted in Sri Lanka, and the same is true with Bangladesh. It's a pity in India there is not enough of work on the intellectual capital. But countries like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, our neighbors, of course, Malaysia long ago, have identified the percentage of capital. They find about 30 to 40% of the market value of their corporations is contributed by the human capital. Another important thing which I think HR managers should understand, our contribution is to the invisible value of a company, known only in terms of the market capital. So that means we build organizations to build loyal customers. We build human capital to build innovations, IPR, I think reliability, build good image, build value addition, things like that, build good brand. What is the big contribution? Now we contribute very little to the achievement of results. I think many HR managers think that they are responsible for performance of a company through performance appraisal system. If performance appraisal systems, the way I think we have been working in the last 30 to 45 years, waste the time of some of the line managers by focusing attentions on tension creating kind of things. But the KRAs are not useful. KRAs are extremely useful, they are essential, but are not done just because of HR managers. HR managers facilitate this. KRA is part of business. So we need to understand that our contribution is not merely in KRAs, our contribution is in the intellectual capital. Understanding this and saying that I am contributing to the invisible capital of a company, and proving that, I think, is a very important kind of a challenge. That's here I said long-term, balance long-term goals and results. It's not to say that quarterly targets are not important. Do that. Build structural relationship and human kind of a capital. Well, challenges I find I've taken these challenges mainly to lift up the HR profession. I'm hoping the HR scape, which National HR Network under the leadership of Arvind developing, into consideration all this. I've just picked this particular diagram from Dave Ulrich's book. I've taken it, I think Dave Ulrich's book on the rise of HR has this chapter in which identified the countries. Now, I say, with the HRD networks, they are in the process of finalizing this. The 8 functional competencies are shown in the outer periphery. These functions are, I read it, total rewards, employee relations, strategic HRM, operational design, planning and strategizing, talent management, development, and performance management. These are 8 competencies. The behavioral competencies are shown in the circle. That means you have to be a credible champion, you should change, you should be oriented, you should and include competencies and so on. I think it's a very useful framework. I hope it will be comprehensive. But at this point of time, not sure this model is cognate of the 7 challenges I have taken, because I certainly lift up HR to much level. HR is business, and to me, HR is the head of the CEO. To me, HR influences the CEO, to builds leaders across the kind of a corporation, to by restructuring itself, aims at building excellence and things like that. I went through this little book which we produced in 1990. Unfortunately, copies are not available. I think this was published by Tom McGraw. And these has articles by CEOs. As we have Noria, Suresh Krishna, Dr. Krishnamurthy, academics like Atreya, Uday, union leaders like Ramanujam, practitioners like I think Nair himself and so on. So when you go through this article, this particular booklet, we find what Dave Ulrich is saying, most of what HR is saying has all said. Now that question, therefore, why so much are coming, so much of literature is coming, but we are not able to come up. Now, we are not able to come up. I would say that there are a few people who have come up very well. I think people like Santrup Mishra, Arvind Agarwal himself, and in the ways M.R.R. Nair, and people like this. So there are quite a few good HR managers, Anil Khandelwal, and so on, who have followed this particular path, where they thought of the CEOs, influenced CEOs, they themselves became CEOs, and then implemented this. So to me, the future for HR is bright. The plan that HR people have to grow phenomenally wonderful. And that I am just quotation again from the Rise of HR. Clear world filled with unprecedented change. Professionals have greater opportunities than ever for influence. But to roll those opportunities, they have to learn and do innovative things. They need outside in and talent and act and make based on information and analytics. Build the HR organization and personal competencies to receive, respect, and deliver business outcomes. I was only this morning, and I was, in fact, that is one of the reasons I was slightly late for this. I was trying to put it. Almost several years ago, and I've been saying it, is in fact a beautiful language Dave Ulrich has put it. We have been HR people have phenomenal opportunities to grow and happen. And if you don't have opportunity to do it in your own organization, for some reason you are constrained, do it. There are not-for-profit organizations which are looking for guidance. Small organizations, I go there, start helping, like I think Krishna, you started doing this, Krishna Rao from ISB, your Facebook note, you started doing with NGO, and there are many others who, some of you may be doing this. I have opportunity. For HR people are lucky to be born as HR people. If only you can make use of it, wonderful things happen. I have said a lot. Now I think I will unmute. You can unmute yourself. Any questions? So that we minimum kind of a distraction. Yeah. For discussion, any comments? Anything you want to say? You want to join? Any comments? What, have you been able to hear me properly? PowerPoint. Okay. Yeah.
One question I had.
Yeah.
Deal with the insecurities of the CEO.
Yeah.
In fact, they are very insecure to trust any professional or subject matter expert in the organization. And their fear, anxiety, and insecurity that the professionals will go someday, they create circumstances which leaves no option for a professional but to leave.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to say I have answers to all this. All that I am reminded is, you see, everyone wants power. Power is a very significant part of life. Everyone wants to feel powerful. I think all of us are insecure at some point of time or other. So, CEO. I think to understand what is causing that particular person insecure. That I'm saying, I'm lifting the HR to much level. First, understand, if you have to sit down. I suppose, I don't think perceive HR people as a threat. If they perceive it, it may be, I think it's unfortunate. I am reminded of a interesting trick that was played by one of the participants. That is when the birth of network was very way when we had a 4-day conference in Bombay in 1980. We started about HRD, and one HR manager said, "My recruited as HR manager out of fashion. Everyone is having HRD, so he put me as HRD. You know what to do." So what I did was I went and enrolled in a local management association. Member of this one, and got my CEO invited to speak on HR. The CEO said that they have invited me to talk about HR here. Do I agree? I said, "Sir, you should." And to speak, then CEO had to come back to him to say, "What do you want?" Give him a brief about what he should speak. All that he wanted, this HRD manager wanted to do. In fact, he said, "Professor Rao, I gave your and Uday Parik's book to CEO. He read and talked about what HR should be." When he came back and he asked me, "Das, what are we doing about all this? I spoke all this, but we must do something now." I'm saying all this to say, there are probably things like this we have to play. See, if a CEO feels insecure, it's the job of the HR managers to work out strategies to make it powerful, secure. There is no easy solution for it. Okay. So that's the way I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this? What do you think?
I don't able to hear me.
You read, I think you are one of the good examples of getting all the modern literature. I think those of you, my friends, Krishna, I'm sure you are all Facebook friends, so you must be knowing Krishna. He reads that, if you name it, I think, you always remind me of Dr. Denison Pereira. I am used to, we L&T library, see the books and then ask for it to the IM library. So you that in HR.
That my case, sir.
Any Neela, any comment from you?
This is can TV is Ullas Page speaking.
It's very nice to have you.
Yeah, great to hear your thoughts again. One of the points which I had is
Yeah.
you mentioned about a vital role to CEO.
Yeah.
Many have seen that many CEOs come with very strong egos
Yeah.
because of the position power they enjoy.
Yeah.
And so because of strong egos, they may what is HR guy, what kind of competency he has got to advise to me. Of course, it depends on the credibility of the individual.
Yeah.
But break this ego part and the arrogance part.
His ego, Ullas, but I think that if you don't have an ego, you can't be a CEO. I think you will have some ego. I have to find very humble people who are
Basically, talk of level 5 leadership,
humility.
physical ability and professional will.
Yeah.
That is absolutely missing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, how do you get them to be humble? This is a million-dollar question.
In fact, in one of the
Yeah.
in one of the conferences, 3 CEOs were there.
Yeah.
They're talking of HR people should always learn, but if asking them about the learning CEOs, and most of them were dumbfounded.
Yes.
So where I'm coming from is the expectation from HR for the CEO upon the HR's, CEO's competency expectation of HR. CEO himself is not much aware about what's happening in HR field in terms of latest development. Expectations from HR would be very low.
In fact, that is the situation with, I would say, a large percent of Indian companies. Companies, including an IT sector,
Yeah.
They treat HR as recruiters, or at best as people who take care of the hygienes, or maybe moderators, like make sure that there is a gym, there is a crash, and so on. And if that is also done, the next. As I think I always felt that IT sector is one where HR people should have been knowledge managers.
Yeah.
To facilitate the entire kind of unfortunately, even in our the best known IT companies in India has not come anywhere near that level. I don't really know if I have an easy answer to your question. How do you bring humility in CEOs? I do think sometimes a 360-degree feedback helps. 360 does bring down your step. But a CEO to go through 360, that may not be too difficult. And to read. You have to think, you have to struggle. That is what makes HR ahead of a CEO. I do that. You think there is no one answer, there is no one story. With multiple answers, multiple things. But the question I think we don't give up. But there will be different kinds of solutions for people. Give a small article to them and so on.
Do that at many times, very reluctant to read. No.
See films, the interesting thing, many things catch us very much. This film I put on Facebook of Ishwar Dayal, which was made by BIMTech. If you it's a 45-minute film, it traces the entire history of life of Ishwar, but more than the life of Ishwar, it also talks of the life of various institutes. Now, this statement I think Ishwar makes, one thing he learned in Ahmedabad from he was totally egoless. There was absolutely no ego. And he said something which I continued all through my life. And if you interacted with Ishwar, such a great guy, he was always in a very very nice and very, explaining. I'm very strong. He may be very autocratic when it comes to making a particular kind of a point.
Yeah.
Maybe films like this, all great people. Now, expose them to some of these films, but I think accept their ego. The best way to hook the ego is to accept the ego and say, sorry, you're great. Good. There are all movies you have to learn and things like that.
Accepting is an easier part, but accepting ego, which prevents learning, is a difficult part.
Yeah, that's true. Ego does learning.
Yeah, I have another point. Until somebody else has a question that was to this HR point that I mentioned. And many studies in India wherein highlight that how much intellectual capital as advantage contributes to market capitalization.
Now, here I have not come across much studies. There are studies in Singapore, Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, I think there is one study. If you look at some of these countries, the struggle is to get invisible capital as much as possible, at least into the balance sheet. Okay, so you only make inferences of some of these. See, easy to calculate invisible capital. That is simply put the total of your shares you have by the market value at a given point of time will give the market capitalization, and you look at your balance sheet tangibles, some of the tangibles from there, it will tell you what is intellectual capital.
Absolutely.
I did it in the year 2006, and then after that, every time business today comes up with their 500 companies, I keep on just for the interest, keep seeing it. So we know what percentage of the market capital in a given year constitutes intellectual capital for each company, and you can track it. But the question you raised, how much of it is by human capital? If you remember, Narayan Murthy tried to do that at one point in time.
Yeah, they short the model to do that, but it was a very accounting kind of exercise.
It is an accounting, absolutely. But my question to that was, it's a gross underestimate of the human capital. Okay, it is important. The answer to your question is, it is a high time that researchers or Indian economics as well as practitioners should start deciphering the amount of market capitalization contributed to HR people. We have not even attempted to do this. Do that. So in ISB, you should get some people to do this.
Sure.
Students, we can give them a project and see what exactly is the kind of contribution of HR people to intellectual capital.
One question relating to intellectual capital. Of several HR interventions which are available, any intervention would you like to suggest which will enhance the intellectual capital? What's the specific interventions?
Well, I think all things, every HR intervention helps. I think the most important, most valuable HR intervention that has potential to influence intellectual capital is the performance management. Not as I've been thinking about the term appraisal from performance management.
Okay.
Performance management is the management of one's time and talent all through the year and should be integrated into a whole lot of things. And all modern management techniques, 360-degree feedback helps intellectual capital by influencing your leadership styles. Employee surveys help you in terms of improving your own kind of a culture, climate, so that I think employees stay longer and employee value what they PA and other kind of things can be improved. If you ask me to name 4 or 5 of them, I will name all the 4 or 5 modern kind of things. Putting learning and development, because now learning and development, like many other things, should be very much a part of everyone's life. There is no question of allocating even a percentage and so on. I think everyone should be filled with learning and development and a lot of self-initiative learning and development. See, assessment centers, engagement surveys provide or use it with a very I have talked of, not complete targets. Complete meet a target, he is not likely to do it. Anything that you do to contribute a philosophy, intellectual capital, is likely to do. That is it. Hemam, you have anything else? Neelam, you have not said anything.
You are replying to Ullas. You said that you are, in order to satisfy the ego as a last resort, you are to the CEO, sir, you are always right. That's when one first challenge that you mentioned was think ahead of CEO.
Yes.
The practical difficulties I found in that challenge is when CEO is himself not clear about what he wants out of the organization.
Yeah.
Or to take the business in next 1 or 2 years. Now, if we are not clear about it, how do you expect the HR guys to think ahead of CEO, sir?
If the CEO is not clear, I think we have to help them to become clear. Okay. Our job is to help the CEO to articulate. If you articulate tomorrow, let it be day after tomorrow. If not day after tomorrow, 6 months from now. All we need to do to get him to focus on this is required. Now, I'll tell you a small thing, small event, small interesting that I have had.
Okay.
A company in Bangalore, an electronic manufacturing company, started by an American multinational almost about 17 years ago, headed by I am Kolkata graduate managing director. They started this company. It was a 100 crore company with 100 employees, all technical staff, and the best HR practices. When we did our audit, they said, look, we are a very well-run company. All our youngsters are all ITI people, for them, and we pay them 30% more than the market around, and we celebrate birthdays. We have a good family atmosphere, but we are a little worried. How long will this continue? But we want to make sure that we will be happy forever. Can you come and talk to our people? Is this what we are thinking? People, we discovered they are all happy with whatever the MD said, whatever the HR manager said, but they said the only thing we are concerned is our future. We don't know our future. And I was the managing director. Our audit indicated that employees are very happy. So what is right, they are rightly guessed. They are also not sure about their future. So career planning, their career, etc. Unless you have there is a row. I belong to American conglomerate. Once you meet in Geneva or somewhere, and there are about 70 companies who come there. I get less than 2 minutes to talk about my company because they are 100 crore, which is nothing for them. And they just wanted to be in India. So they let me open my mouth. Instead of my talking about the future of the company. And all right, I mean, if it is so, you have to play a trick. In terms of saying that, look, I don't want my company to be 100 crore. I want it to be 400 crore. So you go with a plan. But I know if I go, what is the point of going with a plan when they are not likely to hear? Is it all right? I mean, play the trick. You go and tell them that I have a plan. I did it 400 times in the next 3 years. So you permit me, then I will talk. Next year when he went, he said this. Now give us a plan. They immediately said, if you want to multiply 400 times, give a plan. And convened a meeting of all his staff, and they said, look, I promised you this because you always want your future. Now let us see in 3 years how can we become a 100 crore company. And came up with a plan, and the plan was read out next year. The top management agreed. And they were in business, and they became, I think, in about 6-7 years, they became a 700 crore company. All I'm saying is, if you intend, you can make it. The job of HR person is therefore to stimulate CEO to focus on the future. Sponsor him for meetings, put him in CII, put him in some of those. I think they will have it. It will not take too long a time. Because remember, every CEO is interested in being successful. All at this point of time lacking is some kind of guidance. If you can't give guidance and if you don't have credibility, put in touch with him who has credibility. He'll come back to you because the way of establishing credibility is putting in touch with more credible resource. The put him in touch with a more credible resource and he got something out of it, credibility goes up. What I'm saying is we have a lot of power. It's powerful if you know how to use it. Okay. Easy to talk, it's difficult to.
I understand, sir. Thank you so much. Because I've been doing that, and I just wanted your assurance that this is the way I am following.
Yeah, very good. I think you should do that.
Only another practical difficulty I have is it's not about, but then my CEO sits in US, sir. Reporting him sitting in India. There is a time constraint, and then there is of course a distance which.
All that is happening in India, so that you can you will get more interested in this and so on. I want to take this opportunity to mention, I think I'm new to this technology. I think this is the third meeting that we are running using WebEx. It has worked well. Are you able to see me and
Absolutely, excellent.
very clearly? Is it
I've been able to see clearly, and audio quality is excellent. It has experience.
Yeah, that is important.
And Anish Sharmaji, I think you have not talked much. Are you able to hear us? Anish, you're there? I think maybe some of them, the audio and other things may not be very clear. Thanks a lot for joining, and I've enjoyed, and I hope we have, of course, using this technology, we are conducting a few programs. There is a slide which I have put here. We do performance management for all using WebEx technology with some lectures. And we're starting HRD for all. We're starting 360-degree feedback and other kind of things. These are very low-cost programs. I think I would appreciate you can spread the word to anybody.
Certainly do that. Certainly. So what's this side?
See, I don't know if somebody else is there. Thank you very much for joining, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you.
And we'll start. I'm not able to see. Okay. Vamshi?
Hi, sir. Vamshi, right?
Yeah. So you didn't say anything. I hope that was of some use.
Yes, sir. It was quite a good session, sir. Thanks a lot for sharing your thoughts. Sir, could you throw some light on the role of HR as a performance consultant?
Actually, you see what happens is we are, because HR people are stuck in forms, making sure everyone does performance. Working a performance consultant. Performance consultant actually means that you are available for everyone to understand. So read my book on economics. I have talked about time and talent. Since you have 2,000 to 2,400 hours in a year to spend or compute, and therefore every minute matters, every hour matters. So waste your time, you're wasting your talent, and you waste your talent means you're wasting your time. So every line manager has to be helped to utilize his talent and contribute to the company, value addition to the company. So that is what you have to do as a performance consultant. Clarify his roles, help him to understand his KRAs, help him to do the performance conversations well, help him get thrilled out of doing the work. I think that's what it is. Which means you have to have periodic sittings with every line manager. How many such line managers can you sit with? How much can you do is always a big question. But we have not performed this. We always use outside consultants to help in PMS. Many PMS, many HR people have spent that kind of a time to sit with them, do KRAs, to record the data, to empower, to enhance the ego, to contribute to the ego and so on. So for me, performance consultant means helping the person to derive pride out of the performance by constantly working with that person. It doesn't require too much time. I think you have about 5-6 sittings. I think it works like a magic. You have to complete a form to understand. That's the way we talk of performance consultant.
Yes. Training as a one-stop solution for performance gaps. But to educate the line managers on how the other things, like in terms of revisiting the process and all those things, how they have impact on performance.
Yeah, I think that's really a very, very lopsided view. So you have to work with them to help them in your performance, isn't it? That's all. Here, many people are not interested to have, how do we make them really accept in corporate? Can we do it for small organizations? I think you're still there. And you're still there, no? You are able to hear me. I'm not able to hear you. Now, can't be. Anjay Sharma ji, you are able to hear? Okay, I am replying to this. 60 has to be entirely voluntary. It doesn't mean that you can't force. In fact, in Aditya Birla Group in the beginning, Sandrup said that, look, first consider a voluntary thing. He kept his fingers crossed. And for first 25 volunteered, he said that, look, I have started, I want to. And once people go through, then they will be able to spread the word. Many people have fear that companies use it for control. I think the most important thing in 360 is to tell the person, this is for you. Nobody is going to have data from you, and this is strictly maintained. Whosoever use for 360 have to hand over the data only to the person concerned, and under no circumstances should it be given to either HR manager or to the company. I think it's very important to have credibility. If it's a development tool and you can demonstrate it is a development tool, you want to do it, whatever you want to do it, the company want to do it, and so on. Means people's reluctance is because of suspicion about the company, understanding about it. See our book by both Raju and me, we have written on the power of 360 feedback. We made it clear this has got to be a development tool. No conditions should it be used for control purposes, because all 360 is extremely subjective and it changes. Some of the things that can be done, I would suggest you, Mr. go through this and part of the people. And then the first thing is, you yourself, if a HR person goes through 360 and gets his own 360 data to somebody, I think credibility goes down. Many times I've seen HR people administer 360, but they don't go through this. That is okay. I think we can keep chatting on the Facebook, or if there is anything more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Thank you very much.
I just saw she sent in a mail saying she could not log in because of her. Right.